Hey everybody, welcome back to another video from Movies and TVs on the Ball, and happy October, Scooby-tober, woo! I'm here with my partner in crime and horror fan,
Jays.
and I'm Steve as well. And with the release of, as as I've promised before, I was gonna about last year with the release of the fourth slash third slash fourth, depending on if you want to add the direct to DVD sequel as part of the franchise. They released last year or this year. I Know What You Did Last Summer, which is somewhat called I'll Never Forget What You Did Last Summer. And so I wanted to kind of, since Jay and I have talked about the Scream franchise, I wanted to take a look at this other film, I Know What You Did Last Summer, and which was kind of part of the horror genre. And this film came out in 97, which was the same year as Scream 2, and this was sort of the um film that sort of what kind of came right after the Scream series
Right.
and or the first Scream movie, and this was written by Kevin Williamson, who wrote the Scream franchise. Basically, has been the writer of the Scream films,
Okay.
and so I feel like this film, looking at it, it feels like a uh, kind of the stepchild of Scream or the child of Scream.
Right. There's a lot of similarities.
Similarities to
Right.
it. This film starred, or let's go with director first. This film was directed by Jim Glipsy, who wrote Billionaire Ransom, The Family Firm, and Cadillac Arrest. As I've said, this was written by Kevin Williamson. But this one was, I think, kind of a little slack because this wasn't an original idea. This was written book from the 70s, written by a person named Lois Duncan, who also wrote the book for Hotel for Dogs, which became a movie in 2006. And she also wrote I've Been Waiting for You, which sounds like a Lifetime movie. It starred Jennifer Love Hewitt. You know her from Tuxedo, Sister Act 2. She was in the LFO theme song,
Is that Tuxedo, the Jackie Chan
Girl
movie?
on TV, Girl on TV. And she was in the Garfield movies and Can't Hardly Wait. She's recently been in The Client List, Law and Order SVU, and Tropic Thunder. She plays Julie James. Then, as we've talked and discussed before, you have Helena Shivers, played by Sarah Michelle Gellar, who we've mentioned in our Buffy the Vampire Slayer
Hmm.
video, and she was also in Scream 2, which came out the same year as this movie. So, and if you also know her, she's also was Daphne in Scooby Doo and did voice work for TMNT as April O'Neil. And she plays Helena Shivers. And I guess Julie James is kind of the main character, and Helena Shivers is her best friend who's just got into prom queen. We'll get into more of it, but I just want to give the actors its kind of credit. Then you have Anne Heche, who was in 6 Days and 7 Nights with Harrison Ford. Donnie Brasco, Wag the Dog. She was in John Q and the remake of Psycho with Vince Vaughn that came out in like '98.
Saw that.
Um, and she plays Melissa Egan. Then you had Ryan Philippine, who before, as somebody once said, before um, Justin Timberlake became tried to really did a job as an actor. He had Ryan Philippine. He was in films such as 54, Crimson Tide. He did episodes of Chicago Hope, and he was with in a film called Cruel Intentions. Uh, he was in the Oscar winner Crash and the parody of MacGyver MacGruber film. He plays Barry Cox, uh, who is dating Helena Shivers in this movie. Then you had Freddie Prinze Jr., who was in the film She's All That with Matthew Lillard, who was in Scream. So there's kind of a connection there.
Right.
And he was also with Matthew Lillard because Freddie Prinze Jr. played Fred in Scooby Doo. He's also done works in Clerks 3. He was in episodes of Family Matters, to Gillian on her 34th birthday, episodes of Bones, and he's done a lot of recently work in voice acting in animation. He did Star Wars, The Bad Batch. Um, he's recently been in a film with his wife, Sarah Michelle Gellar, called The Girl in the Pool. And he returns for I Know What You Did Last Summer, or I'll Never Forget What You Did Last Summer. So I Know What You Did Last Summer 4 as his character Ray Bronson. Then you have Muse Winston, who plays the fisherman,
Okay.
and you probably know him from episodes of Prison Break, NCIS, The Mentalist. He was in the Austin Powers 2, Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me. He showed up in the sequel, I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, and Matlock. Then to rounding up the cast, you had Bridget Wilston, who, if you were 90s kids, you know her as Veronica Vaughn in Billy Madison. And you probably know her as Sonya Blade in the 1995 Mortal Kombat film, which Jay and I have covered. Uh, she also did episodes of Saved by the Bell, The Wedding Planner, and was the voice of Sonya Blade in Mortal Kombat 11. And then the last one is John Galecki, who you all guys know from Big Bang Theory. He plays Leonard. He was also In Time, Roseanne. He plays uh, Max. And I guess that'll be our kind of cast. So, Jay, do you want to kind of discuss the plot real quick, and then we'll go into our thoughts
Yeah.
real quick. So the plot is it's the senior night of their last night,
4th of July.
4th of July, and it's their last
Summer.
summer before they go to graduate
college. And, yeah.
Are they about to go to college?
Yeah.
They're about to go to college. So they just graduated high school.
Right.
And we have Ryan Philippine or uh, Barry, who is in a relationship with Helena. And then you had um, Julie James dating Ray Bronson, Freddie Prinze Jr., and they're on the beach and they've been kind of partying all night. They just left
There's a big their town has a big parade.
parade.
Where the Helena was just crowned the
Helena was crowned the
beauty. I don't
beauty
know, the queen of the town.
yeah, like the pageant. It was kind of like this sort of pageant. And I
Right.
like what she does in the pageant. She's like, so how are you going to what are you going to do with the rest of your or like no it's so what are you going to do to help humanity? She says, when I become a strong actress, I'm going to show the world help the world out with my acting.
Yeah, she's gonna move to New York and become an actress.
Yeah,
And then
that's
sort of I think Ray's gonna become a writer, I think.
writer. Yeah,
Barry's gonna be a quarterback for the
Steelers,
Cowboys.
Cowboys.
Yeah.
That's right. And
So they all have these big dreams.
big dreams,
Right.
and then of course reality, and then so they go out. So after she wins prom or Miss Town Queen,
Right.
um, they go out to a beach house and they're in a fire, there's kind of drinking and hanging out,
Right.
and then Ray tells the story of this mysterious fisherman who they find the hook.
Right. And they sort of all like sort of interject, like, yeah, like
Interject.
that's not how it went. Like they have
Yeah, so
different, like,
like, so basically there's this sort of urban legend, this legend of this fisher king, a fisherman who gutted people, kind of, they talk about kind of like how the story went, but then Ray kind of puts in his 2 cents
right.
by saying, "No, that's not how it went. He the hook was different, or hook. It wasn't a hook, or it wasn't a knife. It was a hook."
Right.
And so so then Barry kind of gets all aggravated and says, "It's just a story. It's not real." And then real, and so they like go, "Come on." And then we kind of see, and there's a lot of tropes that I've seen in a lot of horror films,
Right.
like Barry and Sarah Michelle Gellar go out to go kind of go behind the rocks to sort of um, make out, and then you had um, Freddie Prinze Jr. and
Julie.
Julie are kind of being a couple
Right.
and doing couple things, and then um, and I kind of like that they are we kind of get their relate kind of understand their relationships
Right.
and kind of where they're going, and then
They sort of all get to a car to drive back.
back, and then Barry is
Too
completely
drunk. Yeah.
drunk to drive, so Ray takes the steering wheel. So Barry is, kind of, he after since he's drunk, he's a little bit kind of crazy and still wants to party. So he gets up in the sunroof
Right.
and goes, "Ah!" And he's like, "I love my life." Whoop. And as they're drinking, or as they're driving drunk and doing, partying, there's a guy who's standing in the middle of the road,
Uh,
and they hit him. He goes bam, and they hit him, and they swerve, and they go see who it is, and they're like, "Oh my god, we hit somebody." Jay, what was your kind of, which I guess I'm gonna kind of pause and ask you,
yeah.
what's your thoughts on how do you like these guys compared to the Scream?
Oh, like the
Like
the
the cast,
characters.
the characters, do you feel like they were more interesting in Scream than they were in?
Uh,
I think,
Maybe overall, yeah, I think Scream was better.
yeah,
But I think up to this point, they were still pretty good.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I think this movie started out pretty strong.
yeah, yeah. And so anyway, they end up hitting this guy, and they all panic, and they're all thinking, "Oh, we're gonna get arrested for manslaughter."
It's going to ruin all their dreams.
Dreams, their
Right.
dreams and ambitions, and John, or
Like Barry is like,
Barry, Barry says, "Why don't we just ditch the body and ditch the body and never talk about this again? Let's swear on an oath."
right,
Um, and so they end up burying or throwing the body out to sea,
right.
and then then we cut to the next summer, and Julie is in
It's like Julie's gone to college.
Julie's in
Like all her
college,
grades are bad.
and
Like
all her grades are bad, and I kind of like the fact that
sort
you
of
can
wrapped
see
with the
that she's
guilt. Yeah.
wrapped with the guilt, and you
Right.
can kind of see how her mother is really sort of, or her mother is very, you should have done better this year. Why are you like, kind of really pressuring the kid,
Right.
pressuring Julie, and Julie's like wrapped with, her the guilt, and just, you can see that she's probably in some sort of depression or something.
Right.
And then you have um Sarah Michelle Gellar, um
Yeah. So after Julie gets this note,
note Sarah Michelle Gellar
she sort of goes off and like tries to
goes
read out
on
with like her friends. That's where we sort of run into like the whole
whole
cast of like
cast thinking
how like all their dreams have
dreams have kind of gone out. Like Sarah Michelle Gellar is basically, her dreams of being an actress were completely shambled.
right.
She's working at a dress company or a
Yeah.
clothing store
Like yeah, run by her
run
sister.
by her sister, played by Billy Madison's teacher, and um, I kind of like how she is, her sister's very kind of like the more favorite, seems more like, I could kind of see that she's the more favorite one.
Right.
Um, and I did kind of like the how she's more favored, and um so she ends up getting a letter, or Julie gets the mail,
Uh huh.
and she's going through her mail, and she's gets this, and her mom, or no, her mom gets the mail, hands it to Julie that she's got a letter, and she opens the letter, and what does the letter say? I know what you did, Summer, and she freaks out,
Right.
and she ends up going to
Talk with Helena,
talk with Helena,
and then they go and see Barry.
Barry, and I like how Helena's like, so I like how Julie and Helena are like, look, we did what we did, no one can trace it. We were so careful,
Right.
you know. And then Julie, so then they go, we need to talk to Barry,
Uh-huh.
and Barry, he takes it kind of like, he's the one that takes it the most like, we didn't see nothing. He's trying to cover his ass
Right.
more than I think the girls are.
Right.
And what's your thoughts on kind of Barry's characteristics between the kind of how he starts out? Because I guess, we were kind of talking about how
Yeah.
they start out differently, kind of the difference between this and Scream. But like
He's
Barry,
pretty one, pretty much like the jock and angry and a bully and sort of
yeah, and kind
he's
of
just gonna
he
have a problem. He's
pressures.
gonna just gonna punch it and
Yeah, yeah. Well,
hope it
he
goes away.
pressures. I think he pressures
Like yeah,
like his girlfriend. Like, I
yeah,
feel like
and the whole group to like try to
sweep
deal
it
with
under the rug,
right,
basically. And then they kind of think it's Ray, and or they think Ray's been kind of, screwing around with them. And
right.
Ray's dreams. He's now working at
Yeah,
a
he didn't
fish.
go off to college.
He
He's
didn't go to
just
college. He's now
a fisherman.
a fisherman, and then you have, and he goes, Ray, we got the letter. You've done this. It's like, no, I got a letter too. Ray's like, look, I've got a letter too. And he says he knows that something's going on. And then they go to Big Bang Theory,
Right. They confront
Jonathan
Max.
Max.
He's the other guy that drove by
But
at night.
okay, so yeah, that night after they pushed the body over to the edge, Max showed up. I guess I forgot to mention that. And Max is like, "What's going on?" And he's kind of, and they're like, "Oh," and then like Barry and um, Ray kind of are like, "Look, everything's going good. We're just hanging out." Barry had too much to drink, and
Right.
so Barry pretends to throw up. And I like how there's sort of this creepiness to Max in that scene.
Right.
But we go back. Max is working at an ice.
He's also I think it was the fisherman.
He's also a fisherman, and
Or processing the fish. I don't know. Yeah.
yeah, and he's processing the fish. And Barry goes over to Max, and kind of confronts him, thinking that
He sent the letter.
he sent the letter.
Right.
And then Max is like, "Look, I didn't send the letter. I don't know what you're talking about, but there's something creepy about the way he does it." And then things start to kind of get sort of topsy turvy, don't you
Right.
think?
Because then Max is murdered by the mysterious hooked man.
Hooked man, the
Yeah.
fisherman.
Right.
And what's cool about that scene is he's it's kind of steamed,
Right.
and I like the fact we don't really see him,
Right.
but we see the hook, and he kind of gets hooked in the navel, I guess, or the stomach,
I think this was like under the chin.
under the chin. Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. So Max gets under the chin, and then right before Max gets killed, I like the fact that Barry threatens him a little
Right.
bit. So, um,
Then I think the next sort of victim the fisherman goes after is Barry in the gym. So
Barry's in the gym, right? But Barry's in the gym, and he's just got done working out, and as after he works out,
he finds someone stolen his
he
jacket.
goes to the locker room, and he finds, yeah, someone's stolen his jacket, and he's like, "Who stole my jacket? I'm gonna kick his ass." It's like he's really macho. He tries to
Yeah.
be too macho, and
Then he hears his car start. Someone's
starts
like stealing his
stealing,
car.
right, stealing his car, and then he goes into
Goes
um
faces the car,
faces the car,
and then the car turns on its lights and starts,
facing him.
facing him.
It kind of reminds you a little bit like Christine, a little bit,
Right.
and then the car runs over Barry or
Yeah, it sort of runs him over like through a wall, and then he
wall.
sort of looks up and see like
The
his
hook,
silhouette is the man with the
the
hook.
hook, man with the hook, and he takes the hook and cuts him.
No, he doesn't
No,
kill him now. He's
no,
like he's just sort of being menacing.
but it menacing, and then but it kind of red herring kind of takes it to the fact where that you think they could have killed him,
Right. Yeah.
and then so they get a call that Barry's in the hospital, or
Right.
do you want to? Is there
No, as much as now they sort of meet up with Barry. And, okay, now we got to talk with Ray.
Ray?
And then,
And Ray shows up, and he said, "Look, I got a letter too."
right, and they find out, oh, he's a fisherman, so that's sort of like sort of like your first another red herring,
Right,
or
right,
maybe a suspect right now.
yeah, and then Um, so then Barry thinks the doesn't believe the note's real, and he thinks it's a prank. So then they talk about who could have done this,
Right.
and they did some research on the internet, and it's kind of cool looking at how she's on her like IBM laptop looking at the internet. But anyway, so she's looking at the internet and she's reading up on this guy named um
Something Eggins is like sort of like the guy that they kill,
yeah,
and so they're
they
trying to find out like who's his family or friends, or
friends.
that's who they think
And then
maybe the killer is.
they go to Anne Heche,
His
who's
sister's house.
his sister. I think it's this Benjamin Willis. And Anne Heche is Melissa Eggins, and she's this country in the sticks um woman who's like, and she's kind of got this creepy like, "Hey guys, hey, what y'all doing on my property?"
Right, and then they
And
find like the fisherman like outfit there too.
yeah, they find it out, and she's kind of got a creepy feel to it.
Right.
But so they go there, and then Julia um
They sort of find out there was like her brother had some friend who came by who's named Billy Blue.
Billy Blue, right? Billy Blue.
Right.
So Billy Blue, and then the next scene after that is Helena goes back to her house, and as she's in her house, she's kind of getting ready for bed
Right.
and brushing her hair.
Right. And we see the sort of the fisherman sort of sneaks in.
Yeah, but it's kind of got that kind of like the way it looks is it reminds me a lot like Scream, where you kind of see Ghostface run across the run across the room, and she's
Right.
completely oblivious. And then so she's so she's s- uh, combing her hair, and then she kind of goes to bed, and then she wakes up in the morning, and she starts to kind of feel her hair, and oh my gosh, all her hair starts to fall off,
Right.
or most of
Yeah,
it
it's been chopped up.
chopped up, and then she goes over to Ray, or not Ray. She goes over to
I think she gets buried, like, help protect her because she's gonna be on the float today. So she
yeah,
lets Barry sort of like be her guardian.
be a guardian, and then but I think Barry Barry starts to accuse Ray that he's doing all
Yeah,
this.
yeah. He accuses Ray a couple times.
And I think this is the second time. And then there's that line that's parodied in Scary Movie where she's like, "Who are you? What are you waiting for?"
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
And Julie goes back over to see Egan's sister, uh,
yeah,
and
uh,
does some more research.
there's some more research, and then we see, I guess, the Fourth of July, um, Fourth
Festival's underway.
away, and then Julie, or not Julie, Sarah Michelle Gellar is having to be in the parade
Uh,
to do the um,
Little pageant show.
pageant show, and because she has to give the crown to the next
Right.
queen, and then but she's so nervous, and I love the fact that she's looking around, and she sees like all these men in fisherman suits and thinks it's the guy,
Right.
but I guess so she ends up going so they end up she ends up going to the pageant. The pageant happens, and then
Barry gets murdered.
Barry gets murdered, and then that's kind of where the climax takes place, right? Or like the start of the climax.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so Barry gets murdered. They get chased by
Right. And then sort of like
uh,
Helena gets chased
chased
for an extended period of time, and she runs. She gets taken by the
two
cop, and then
cops. Oh yeah, yeah. So she's running, and then she gets taken. So she's running through the she's running through. So she's at the pageant. Um she's given the crown
right.
to and then she looks up, and she's more focused on the fishermen coming over to
Kill
basically
Barry.
kill Barry. And then when she notices that, she panics, runs out of um the
The pageant.
pageant, and as she's running out of the pageant, uh she's getting chased by the fishermen.
Well, no, it's sort
No,
of like she sort of screams, and like they sort of stop, and they go look for the police. They don't find anything, and so the police take her home.
take her home.
And that's when the like, police sort of get stopped by a mysterious guy who's the fisherman who
Right,
kills the
right.
police.
Kills the police, and then after he kills the police,
She runs around. She
around
runs to her sister, and then the fisherman kills her sister, and
sister,
then she keeps running, and then eventually she gets killed too. As
yeah,
she's like just about to make it to safety.
safety. Right. So Sarah Michelle Gellar gets the bucket,
Right.
and then or gets the gut, or gets sliced. Then you have Julia and Freddie Prinze Jr. Ray, and they are
Well, like Julia's figured out the secret. Oh no, it's like we didn't. It's the father of
of the
the
guy that
Egan's girlfriend who
Egan's
died like
girlfriend.
2 years earlier.
Right. That's the one they ran over.
Right. It wasn't Egan's at all.
Egan's all right, 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 right. And then so she finds out, they end up going to the cabin, or not cabin, the fisherman's lair.
Right.
And she meets this guy, and he's kind of the, oh man, what a creepy old guy, pretty
Right.
much.
There's like pictures of them all throughout this boat.
But
Yeah.
yeah, which I thought was kind of interesting. And so anyway, she ends up going into the so she ends up getting chased by so she finds out the fisherman is this guy
Right.
on the boat, and
It
she
wasn't
ends up
Ray.
wasn't Ray, and I thought that was a pretty good red herring kind of. There's a lot of good red herring
Yeah.
moments in this movie, which I think the screenwriter Kevin Williamson is so good at. And so she's running into them, or she's running. She finds out that the fisherman is this guy,
Uh-huh.
and she chases him around, or he chases her around, and then Freddie Prinze Jr. shows up and saves Julie,
Right.
and that kind of is the end of it.
Right. And they sort of end with the fisherman getting his hand actually cut off
Enough,
with
right,
the hook, and then he
right.
sort of falls into the ocean.
Falls in the ocean, and then Julie's in college,
Yeah, it cuts to 1 year
and
later.
after Julie's been in college, she's like in the gym, about to take a shower, and she ends up getting she ends up like, oh God, what's that? She goes over to the mirror, and the mirror says, I still know what you did.
Right.
And then what I liked is at the ending, the guy bursts out of the
One final jump
one
scare.
final jump scare, which kind of reminded me a lot of Nightmare on Elm Street 1, at the end of Nightmare on Elm Street 1.
Right.
Yeah, so let's kind of go. So, and that's kind of the plot. So Jay, I like this film. What was your favorite? I mean, I feel like it was fresh in some ways. I do feel like it felt like a Scream, kind of the sister of Scream,
Yeah.
a little bit, but it wasn't like, oh God, I remember everything else. It was more of, it kind of was its own thing, but it wasn't. I mean, I think because Scream came out, I think this is, I think because Scream came out first or before this, I could kind of tell that this felt like, oh gosh, it's Scream, but it still works.
Yeah.
I think the cast is really good. They've got really good chemistry, especially especially Freddie Prinze Jr. and Sarah Michelle. Even though they weren't a couple in this, they actually in real life became a couple
Okay.
in real life. But I did like. I thought the hook hand was cool. The
Right.
just his sort of his look of it was pretty cool. I liked the. I thought I think the characters are really good. I think Julie is a. Do you feel like she's more interesting character than Sydney from Scream, or do you feel like because we've only gotten like two, three films, there's more fleshed out stuff with the Scream
I
movie?
guess. I think I've only seen the first two Scream, but I think Scream was the stronger.
So yeah, I feel like it was stronger, but I Know What You Did Last Summer wasn't terrible.
No, no, not
No, it wasn't like God, they're ripping off Scream. I feel like this felt like if Scream was like the Scream is like the senior in high school,
uh
and I Know What You Did Last is like the senior in the high school's sibling, and I Know What You Did Last Summer is the senior's sibling that just came just as a freshman.
right.
And I felt like that's how I felt like. I felt like in its own merit, it works great. I feel like it didn't feel like a knockoff, but it felt fresh, but it also felt familiar.
Yeah.
And I think it worked really well. I think the cast worked really well. Um, I liked the kills were really cool.
Right.
And I think the ending was kind of a nice homage to I Know What You Did Last Summer. So I would say on my scale from um, 1 to 10, I'd probably say an 8, maybe
Okay.
7, 8. but if you put it between Scream One, and I Know What You Did Last Summer, I would probably put Scream as a 9, and I Know What You Did Last Summer as a 7.
Gotcha.
Like it's not like, oh my gosh, it works pretty good. I like I thought it was kind of cool. We didn't really get to, but I did like the fact that we were so more invested in the kills, and we were invested in the main characters, that unlike Scream, where, you're watching and going like, who's the killer? Who's the killer? Who's the killer? When you find out it's Old Man Withers,
Right.
you know, which kind of, I think it's, and I do kind of like the irony of the fact that both Freddie Prinze Jr. and Sarah Michelle Gellar met on this movie, and they became Daphne and Fred
Oh,
in
Scooby Doo.
Scooby Doo.
Yeah.
So, and Scooby Doo is kind of a horror kind of thing.
Right.
So it all connects together. So I Know What You Did Last Summer. This first one, I would say I give it an on my 1 to 100 scale, probably an 87. Would you
Okay.
say, Jay? What about you?
For me, I think the movie started out pretty good, but I think the end, I just didn't like the last
Do you think
bit.
the last half,
Yeah, I think
like,
the ending wasn't that
well,
great.
how can you like, would you want to, do you think it was the writing, or do you think the film was just sort of like, okay, we need to get to the end?
I don't know. I think it was sort of just like sort of these super long, prolonged chase scenes. Maybe I don't know. Just sort of
And I could, I mean, I kind of want to hear this sort of. I think, the chase. I think it worked, but yeah, but I mean, do you think the chase scenes were just a little bit too overdone?
maybe
Like
yeah.
for the ending, it was kind of like you're ready to wrap it up and go,
Right.
who's the killer? Who's the
I think it's also hard not to compare it to Scream
Scream?
with like all the twists and it's sort of like it's just the old.
It's, yeah, and but I do kind of feel like it's not that, like, it's not like it feels like a retread of Scream, or it has sort of the elements of Scream, but it still works as its own thing. And it also could also be that this was based on a book too.
Right.
And I think that was a good balance that it has to kind of have, because you have the book, but the book probably has so many of these but tropes that we just saw a year ago
Uh,
in Scream, that you're kind of, I think as somebody who probably never read the book and go, well, this kind of does feel like, I could see myself in 90, if I was like, you know, the age I was, maybe the age I was in high school in 97, I'd be like, this is a Scream ripoff. But I feel like it's not, it's not, it's not like you're watching a crappy horror film. Not crappy, but like, it's not like, let me try to, it's not like watching like a mock
yeah,
bust.
yeah, yeah.
I feel like,
There's definitely way, way, way worse ones.
yeah, yeah. I think I feel like this would be it now, to look at it. I feel like Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer would be a good bit, double feature. I would like to see dissected more in detail in a film school kind of thing, because I
Uh,
feel like they work in the same ways, but I think Scream was so, I think, because Wes Craven is so great at horror, Scream really kind of was the better,
yeah.
is the uh is probably superior to I Know What You Did Last Summer, but I wasn't like, I didn't feel like I Know What You Did Last Summer wasn't just like, oh, total wash.
No, no, not at all.
But I think because we saw Scream, but that's kind of my look at it, is I just think I liked it. I think the chemistry works, but the killer wasn't as, I can kind of see maybe your point that the killer wasn't that interesting. Not interesting, but wasn't as it was memorable, but it wasn't as didn't have enough meat
Yeah.
that Ghostface had.
Right.
So I would probably say, I know what you did last summer. I'm a fan, but I'm not. I think I would probably give it 80
Okay.
in my 1 to 100 kind of like 80, 80, 79 to about 90 ish. Maybe that, and that's maybe being a little bit more thumbs up then, but
Right.
I guess how would you rate it or grading it? A, B,
Right.
C, C.
Oh gosh.
C plus,
I think it's C.
C,
Yeah.
C. Okay, I'll give it a B minus just to be a little bit. I think it's good, but I think if you start comparing it to Scream, then it starts to kind of lose its.
Right.
So I think that would be my thing. But that's our look at I Know What You Did Last Summer. Let us know what your thoughts are on this film. Have you seen the new film? Have you seen the sequels? Both I Still Know What You Did Last Summer and the direct to DVD sequel. I'll always know what you did last summer. But let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. As always, I'm Steve and
Jay.
Jay. And what's going to be our next one? I think we might do another horror film,
Right.
maybe in a Treehouse of Horror. Or I think our next one is going to be maybe in November. Well, on our list, we're doing Out of the Night with the Full Moon is Bright. Is a ghost they call Zorro. Mask of Zorro. Now, before I leave, the reason why I'm doing Mask of Zorro is I did a video talking about Zorro from the '60s film show, and so this is sort of a sequel to that. So, guys, enjoy. Happy Halloween! If and trick or treat, trick or treat. Give me something good to eat. Bye.